morning, everybody, and welcome to The Artist's Well. This is Series 2 and Episode 7. Before we start, I just want to give a little bit of a plug to the book that accompanies this series, which is called The Source. Now, I know a lot of you have already bought copies of it, but if you haven't, it's a lovely thing for Christmas. It would make a great corporate gift as well. And it's a sort of a way of supporting the work of The Artist's Well also. So please do consider that. Now, as somebody said, you know, because it contains the work of over 50 artists and a lot of their images and so on in the book, it's actually a work of art in itself, said Maliki, who I know is here watching. He used that term. And like all good works of art, you won't find them in a bookshop, you'll find them in a gallery. So I'm delighted to say that there are a number of galleries, particularly those who represent the artists contained in the book. And I hope I don't leave anyone out on this one, but down in Cork, there's the Lavitt Gallery. In Dublin, there's the Olivier Cornet Gallery, there's the Solomon Gallery, there's the Taylor Gallery, and in Kildare, there's the Kilcock Art Gallery, County Kildare. So all of those galleries have copies of the book. So if you happen to be in town or near any of those galleries, you'll be able to pick up a copy. I should also mention that there's a lovely, I'll just give you a quick look at this. There's a lovely bookmark that goes with each copy. And you can see the Evans logo on the bottom, and that's because they supported the printing of this lovely bookmark. And it's a really good idea because it'll keep you an eye on your favorite artist or where you are in the book as you go through it. So do bear that in mind when it comes up to Christmas. Right, that's enough for the commercial. This morning, we are delighted to have with us the artist and activist, and I use that word advisedly, John Adams. And John lives in Cove in Cork, but he's originally from Dublin. So he's going to show us around his studio, his gallery, and also his house, because they're all in the 3 stories. Isn't that right, John?
Good morning, Alan. How are you?
I'm very well, and good morning to you. How are you?
I'm fantastic, and thank you very much for inviting me on The Artist's Well. It's a great honor. When I look at some of the artists you've interviewed already, it's really very special to be invited to join you.
My pleasure. So tell us a little bit about your life. You were born, I think, in Bray, were you? In Wicklow?
No, I was. We lived in Dunleary first. I was born in Holles Street Hospital in Dublin.
Yes.
And we lived in Dunleary until I was 2 on York Road. And then we moved up to Roachtown Avenue near the Graduate Pub, just in behind there. And we were there till I was about 8 or 9. And then we did a few moves around the place, like down to Kilkenny when I was 7 for a short spell. And then we went to Cortown for a short spell before we moved to Bray. I think I was about 10 years old when we moved to Bray.
Yes.
And I have to say it was a wonderful place to grow up because it's got the sea, it's got the mountains, the Wicklow Mountains all around it. And one of the great memories of my teenage years was my father was into sailing. He had a catamaran. He built the first catamaran in Ireland. So I got a love for sailing from an early age, watching Dad sailing his amazing catamaran. And also I joined the Boy Scouts, which was another great part of my childhood, going camping with the Boy Scouts and getting to see different parts of Ireland. Like, for example, we went camping to Valentia Island, and that kind of sparked a love of County Kerry and Valentia Island in particular. Ever since I've been going back there, I've had about 6 birthday parties on Valentia Island in the Royal Pier Hotel there. Really? It's a fabulous venue.
Yes. Yes. Also, were your parents involved in art at all, John?
Pardon?
Were your parents involved in art?
Yeah, well, my father and my grandmother both painted. Dad worked very hard, so he really didn't have a lot of time for painting, but he did a few pretty amazing paintings. He did one of the Battle of Clontarf, which I'm still impressed with to this day. My sister has it, pride of place. Lindsay has it above her fireplace in her house. So the Battle of Clontarf, it's kind of a semi-abstract painting with very vivid colors, and amazing imagination he must have had. If he had pursued a career in art, I'm sure he would have been an amazing artist.
And when did you discover that you had this gift?
Well, it was thanks to my teacher in Presentation College, Bray, Mrs. McCormack, and she encouraged me. And eventually, in fifth year, she told me that, you know, I should think about applying for art college, which was a real surprise to me because I didn't even know you could go to art college. I didn't even know you could study art as a serious career.
Yes.
And so she helped me get a portfolio together, and I applied to NCAD. And it was probably one of the biggest shocks of my life that they actually accepted me into NCAD. Funny thing is, after I got in there, they told me I was the only person who wore a tie to the interview. So,
do you reckon that's how you got in?
I don't think I've worn a tie since, mind you.
Very good. And tell us about your experiences at NCAD.
Well, NCAD was incredible. It was a really amazing experience. We were based on Tara Street, looking over the River Liffey across to the Custom House. But we were also based in Kildare Street in those days. It was before NCAD moved to Thomas Street. So we were right beside the Dáil, and it was Charlie Haughey days. So we were going in one door, and the politicians were going in a door just maybe 20 meters away from us, so we could actually see them going in and out.
Yes.
And it was quite amazing to feel like so close to the center of power for a young man of my age. And one of the amazing memories of that was when they taught us how to use a shoebox as a camera and make your own camera. That was the picture I took from the door looking out of the college over to the door of the Dáil Éireann. I took that with the shoebox camera, and it sparked a love of photography. I've always been interested in photography ever since, and I guess photography is generally how I do my paintings. I don't go outside and paint the landscapes, even though I did for a while when I went to Florence to study in 2010. We learned plein air painting over there in the 45-degree temperature. It was pretty amazing painting in Florence. Yeah, but very hot, amazing. Like, you know. Incredible.
So tell me, your time in NCAD was cut short, was it?
Yes, as in all the colleges I attended. I've been to 4 colleges. I went to Dún Laoghaire Art School after that, and I went to Crawford in Cork and the Limericks College of Art. And each time I had not a great experience because I wanted to learn how to paint, and I didn't realize, and I guess I was too dumb to ask, you know, do you teach painting in the art college? But it makes me sad to this day, the whole system of art colleges, that they don't teach painting skills, and they don't really prepare artists for being artists in any sort of professional way.
Why do you think that is, John?
Well, I think they've got a pretty messed up philosophy in the art colleges. I don't think they even have a philosophy. It seems to be these days that it's more important to be able to talk about your work than the work itself. And as many people can see through a lot of the publicly funded art galleries in Ireland now, there's an obsession with conceptual art. And I think a lot of the art colleges are basically on that bandwagon. I mean, this fashion in art started a long time ago. I guess it probably started in England, places like Goldsmiths College and stuff like that. And that obsession with conceptual art, I think, is destroying the experience of art for a lot of people in Ireland, including the public, more than anyone. Because, like, for example, we have a local art centre here, the Sirius Art Centre, and more times than not, there's conceptual art in there. People go in and they see something like a rock in a corner or a television in another corner, and all the walls are empty. There's no paintings or sculptures. And I think a lot of the public, including the artists, really are left a bit cold by a lot of the conceptual art. Obviously, I'm not against all conceptual art, but I'm against the obsession that curators in Ireland have. And obviously, because I'm a campaigner for artists, I believe the curators of Ireland are letting the artists down hugely by not honouring the artists that are alive and working so hard in the country. You know, people like a lot of the artists that you're interviewing, you know, they don't get recognized by the big galleries like the Crawford Art Gallery and different galleries like that could be showing a lot more of the artists that are in the area, rather than, I feel that a lot of curators think it's better on their CV to bring in artists from abroad. It looks so a very good job for Irish artists anyway. For example, like, you know, the Arts Council, they don't even have a website to promote the artists of Ireland. And artists really need to be promoted more than, you know, begging for funds and that kind of stuff. I don't want a grant from the Arts Council. I'd like them to be promoting my work internationally and within Ireland. You know, like, you know, RTE, they're always saying they promote the arts and they support artists. But have you ever seen RTE showing a visual artist on the television? You know, last week,
only on Nationwide.
Nationwide, that's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to say, except for Nationwide last week, which was brilliant. They promoted an artist, and I saw all over Twitter, there was an amazing response. So I don't know why RTE don't do it more, since they are bragging about helping artists. But I can't think of one Irish artist that has become famous because RTE have promoted them.
Yeah.
So I think that's what we need more than anything. Places to show our work and have people promoting our work.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. And I mean, we need people like you to speak up and fight the corner.
Well, you know, Alan, I've spent a lot of my career helping artists. I've run galleries in London, squatted art galleries, like we squatted the Dole office in Brixton, and we turned it into an art centre for 6 years, from 1990 to 1996. When I moved back to Cork. But that was an incredible experience. And I met some amazing people over there. I got to co-curate exhibitions in the South London Art Gallery with those people like Damien Hirst around, and got to meet, oh God, I told you yesterday.
You did. I'm trying to think who it was. I know Damien Hirst you mentioned. I can't remember the other guy.
These two artists that work together, they're amazing artists. It'll come to me as we keep talking. And but yeah, I mean, amazing experiences. Channel 4 actually made a documentary about it, and John Major was involved in it. They filmed him driving past the Dole office in his chauffeur-driven limousine, and he pointed at the Dole office. He said, "That's where I used to sign on." John Major signed on in Brixton Dole office.
Yes.
That.
Yeah. George and Gilbert.
Gilbert and George, that's it.
Gilbert and George, sorry, yeah.
Thanks, Martin. They were perfect gentlemen and always impeccably attired in their very smart suits, you know, lovely guys. They reminded me a bit of you know, my favorite comedians. Bring me sunshine.
Morecambe and Wise.
Bring me life. Morecambe and Wise.
Yeah.
How many of you love Morecambe and Wise? Like, I can remember in those days, I was about 12 years old and we didn't have BBC. So we used to have to go into the next door neighbor in Bray.
Yeah.
The Parles next door to us. And they'd let me watch Morecambe and Wise every week. And I'd be rolling around on the floor laughing. And
Fantastic.
Really didn't, I don't think they appreciated the humor, but it was kind of funny in itself, just going into their house every week to watch Morecambe and Wise.
Okay, so listen, you're down in Cove. You have a lovely 3-story house, which you've put a huge amount of work into. And you're going to bring us on a tour, because the tour is going to be the same as, you know, the way I normally do a presentation of people's work.
Exactly, yeah.
You know,
as you can see behind me, you've got the Titanic painting. That's why I started the tour here, because, you know, since I moved to Cove 6 years ago in 2014, when I bought this house, I've done a few paintings relating to Cove, and there's nothing more kind of appropriate than the Titanic, because there's so much history, maritime history in Cove. And the Titanic is obviously the most famous vessel to have visited here. And I'm looking out my window here at Spike Island, and it's only over the other side of Spike Island where the Titanic was moored when it came to pick up the fateful 160 people that died on board from who boarded the Titanic from here. It's designed so the sky is kind of melting down on top of the doomed vessel. It kind of looks doomed before you even start. And the sky, the dark cloud is I know it's not obvious or anything, but it's designed to look like the Royal Albert Hall, and kind of represents the British establishment melting down on top of the ill-fated ship. And if you look out the window here, you can see the view from my house, which is looking out to Spike Island.
Yep.
Just out here.
Yeah. We should introduce John, JC, your cameraman.
That's John Crone, a fabulous musician, and he has his own recording studio here in Cove.
Yes. Okay, so we're actually looking at Spike Island in the center there.
Yes, that's the view out my window. And this room that we're in here is also my Airbnb room. So if anybody wants to come and stay in Cove in the artist's house, they're very welcome to book in through Airbnb.
And it's a lovely room, a great character to it. If you do a 360.
Top of the house. And there's a painting up here. This one here. It's one of my recent series. My most recent work is about animals and extinction. And this one is called Refugees. And it's about the animals running away from the Armageddon and the destruction that humans are creating to the environment. So you'll see downstairs, I've done a lot of paintings of animals relating to extinction and struggle to survive. So during the lockdown, I was here in Cove, and we weren't allowed to go more than 3 miles. So I was walking the beaches of Cove a lot, and I realized there's a massive amount of rubbish on the beaches. So I found a lot of corrugated metal sheets, and I started using it because I thought it was really beautiful, the rust that's on the corrugated sheets. So I started using the corrugated sheets, the rubbish that I found on the beaches of Cork, to highlight the struggles that animals are going through, surviving.
And you have a couple of examples of those downstairs, I think.
Downstairs, yes.
Yeah.
Just while we're in this room, we'll just show you the rest of the paintings.
Yes.
There's one up here of I don't know if you can see it because of the window behind it, but
yeah, no, that's okay.
Just a very basic seascape, which shows a technique that I perfected many years ago of using the paint in a very liquid state. And it's a perfect way for recreating water. And if you come to the right here, this is a painting that I did in Florence when I was studying in the Florence Academy of Art in 2010.
Yes.
The next painting here.
And you work in acrylics, don't you? Solely?
Yes, and oil sometime as well, Alan.
Okay.
Now, this one here is the tallest building in Ireland. It's called the Elysium. And it was part of a series that I did on Cork City because of the Celtic Tiger. We were experiencing so many buildings being knocked down. And in my mind, there's a lot of ugly buildings being built. But this is an example of a new building that I thought was quite nice. So I did a painting of it. And there's another example here of a modern building in the city, which is the Cork City Hall, and it's the new extension onto the back of the City Hall. So I did honor a few of the modern buildings that I liked and I thought were good. And what I like about this painting in particular is the three-dimensional quality of it. So that I'm quite fond of that painting. It's a small enough painting.
Yes, yes.
If you go slightly to the right, then you'll see a portrait of my good friend Tez from Skull. He owns one of the best bars in Ireland, him and his wife Sue. And that is Tez. He's from Turkey. He's a wonderful man.
Yeah.
Good friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're going to come around my house, you're going to see a lot of different styles, and that's something I'm quite proud of. And this is one of the things I love about Tim Goulding's work as well, that he has been through so many different types of painting in his life. Mm-hmm. This one here is extremely abstract. I used to keep it in my loo because I loved how every time I looked at it, you could see something different in it. And that is the beauty of abstract art, I suppose. It's different to doing a realistic painting. You'll always see something different.
Yes.
So now I'm going to show you some of my very early paintings, which I did inspired by Kilreelig, which I know you have, a few of your artists have been to Kilreelig.
Indeed I have, yeah.
Noelle Campbell-Sharp on your program as well, who's a wonderful advocate for the arts, and she has done so much for the arts in Ireland. John, if you come this way. These three paintings were done in Kilreelig in 1998, and they're called the Popes. Basically, they represent the Pope as head of the Catholic Church, but as the figurehead of an organization, which I have a lot of doubts about. And I was inspired by a megalithic tomb down in County Kerry, right near Kilreelig, where I spent quite a bit of time in the tomb. And I don't even believe in afterlife, Alan, really. Mm-hmm. But I really felt a connection to this place, almost like the spirits were talking to me, because when I went back to the studio in the artist's retreat, these paintings happened by my subconscious mind, I believe. Like, I don't really think I planned them or I thought about what I was doing. Mm-hmm. I kind of went into a trance-like state, and I really felt a strong connection to that megalithic tomb, which apparently is about 4,000 years old. And this is what happened there. If you look at their heads, they're the shape of the Christian burial stones that are on top of the pagan burial tombs. So I felt like maybe there was an anger somewhere coming from the earth that the Christians had the audacity to desecrate this tomb by putting their own Christian symbols on top of the tombs where the people were already buried. Now that is just a crazy idea that came to me. Mm-hmm. I don't know where this came from, but I love the idea that the paintings are totally inspired without really knowing exactly how they were inspired or where the inspiration came from. But I love these paintings. They're very big, as you can see.
They are. And do you go back to Kilreelig a bit?
Yes, it's my favorite place to paint, and it's the most inspiring place I've ever painted. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Now, I've always believed that these paintings should be in a castle. For some reason, I feel like they're kind of medieval in a way.
Yes.
So I sent Jeremy Irons some high quality images of these paintings down to his amazing castle in Kilcoe down near Skibbereen.
Yeah.
And Jeremy wrote back to me and he said, "John, thank you so much for sending me these pictures. Unfortunately, I find them too scary to have them in my castle."
Well, he's honest, if nothing else.
So we're going to go down the stairs now, okay, John?
Yeah, fine.
He might shake the camera a little bit. Actually,
don't worry.
I'm going to take it just for a second because I want to show you a couple of things on the way down. And you probably noticed I've had a lot of plants around the place. I love having the plants, but I just want to show you my parents, who would like to pay a big tribute to and thank them for being so supportive for all these years.
What a lovely looking couple.
That's when they got married, way back in 1960. I think it's 1960. Yeah, they're 61 years married now.
Yeah. And where was that, John?
That was in London. They got married
London.
in South London, down in Collier's Wood, where Dad grew up.
Yes.
So you'll hear the bells. Here you have a painting of Brown Thomas in Cork City, another building that I really love. You might get a shine on it from the light.
Yep.
But I love the stonework. I'm a big fan of stonework. And I think Brown Thomas is one of the best stone buildings in all of Cork. And you see the way I paint to the people. I like the way there's a suggestion of the people. There's a lot of movement, but they're very vague as well. It's my favorite way to paint. I consider myself to be an expressionist painter. So I'm not caught up with too much detail. I like the detail to be movement, really. I love to capture movement in my paintings. And if you go just below it, here is a painting I did last year because my friend Des died. My dear old friend Des, I knew him since the age of 12. We were like brothers growing up in school. Very sad to see him die last year.
I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah.
And, you know, because of COVID, his family couldn't be with him. His last 3 days, he was on his own in the hospital.
Terrible. Yeah.
So, welcome into my kitchen here. This house, I bought it 6 years ago, and it took me 3 years to do it up. This kitchen was originally the bathroom. So I built a bathroom at the back, an extension, and then I turned the kitchen into the kitchen, and I opened up the wall between the kitchen and the living room.
Right.
I guess we go through the paintings. You see different styles starting from here. It's an abstract painting of an old schooner. Very dark painting. As you go to the right, you'll see just a computer-generated image of myself done by a friend of mine.
All right, yeah.
And then over here, one of my favorite places to go and paint has been also down to Italy. I fly into Nice in the south of France. And so I've got a painting of Monaco here. And because it's always sunny down there, I put an Irish sky on a very grey sky. But it's a fascinating place, Monaco. It's a strange place, full of very, very wealthy people.
Yes.
But it's a fascinating place to go and spend some time as well. And I love the sea. As you probably noticed, I've got a lot of paintings of water and the sea. Over here, you've got Monte Carlo Casino.
I love your skies. You really define your paintings with your skies.
They're quite realistic, these ones. A bit more realistic than I normally do. I was going through a period where I was really trying to improve my painting skills. So I was going for a more realistic look. To the right, then, you've got one of my favorite animals. It's part of the Animals Matter series. And it's the marine iguana from the Galapagos Islands. Yeah. I just absolutely love those creatures. And in this particular painting, he reminds me of a gangster rapper. So he's kind of got that attitude like, hey, man, don't mess with me, man. You know what I mean? Over here, you've got a painting I did in the Florence Academy of Art. It's I was doing painting the figure as well as doing the landscape. So this painting was probably one of the hardest paintings I ever did. It drove me crazy. We spent a whole month in the studio with 45 degrees and no air conditioning. We were sweating so badly. And I didn't really like the painting at all. So I put the halo on her because I thought it would make it look better. And I still think it does. But yes, the poor model, when she saw it, she burst into tears and she refused to come back out because she was very religious. Okay. So this is the living room.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And as you know, I put on many events in my house. I have the gallery downstairs, and I've hosted plays and music evenings and poetry and storytelling.
Mm.
And when I do that, people bring their own beer and their wine, and they come upstairs here before and after the show. So this room has seen many a wonderful occasion and
Yeah.
party. I like to think it's like I've designed the fireplace and the whole to look like an old Irish cottage. Really, I like that kind of feel.
Yes.
That's the way
Yes.
I want my house to be like in the old days, where there's storytelling and music and people entertaining each other. And
Yeah.
these paintings up here are three of my favorite paintings I ever did.
Mm-hmm.
They're a homage to my favorite artist, Francis Bacon.
Yes. Yes.
I did a whole series of these paintings with figures that look kind of like half man, half animal. They call manimals, and they're inspired by Francis Bacon, but they're also an exercise in learning how to get movement, depth, light, and color into painting.
Yes. Very interesting.
These three are called Leaning to the Left, 1, 2, and 3, which is also a political reference to my political views, which are definitely leaning to the left. I believe capitalism is destroying the planet. I'm a socialist. I believe in fairness and equality. And I think it's outrageous that some people are so wealthy now that they own more than whole countries. And, Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, people like that, they've got way too much money and way too much power. And it's just going against all the ideals of democracy, that individuals can have so much power. Yeah. Democracy and capitalism it's just gone way too far in one direction. And I think that's one of the biggest problems in the world. And most of the multinational corporations are the ones who are causing most of the damage to the planet as well.
Yes.
So if you look down up here first, since he's pointing this way, these are three paintings I did in the Florence Academy as well when I was there. Three little oils along the River Arno. And it was all a period when I was really working on my skills, Alan. And the painting below is another example, the paintings of Cork. I started off in Cork Harbour, trying to record the harbour because a lot of buildings have been knocked down and there's so many of these huge, big pharmaceutical plants being built in Cork Harbour that I thought I should record the harbour before, it gets completely destroyed. So I had started in the harbour. I did 57 paintings of Cork Harbour. And as I moved up the River Lee, I ended up in Cork City, which you can see, John is showing you my painting of the iconic Rocha stores in Cork.
Yes, very distinctive.
And it's empty now, derelict. Another derelict building in Ireland.
Oh, that's because of Debenhams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you look to the left here, you've got Kinsale. It's called Desmond Castle in Kinsale. And the man who owned that or who built it was the first wine importer into Ireland. So that's an interesting little fact about that building. And it also faces Chairman's Lane, if I'm not mistaken, where they literally would carry people from the mud and the water onto dry land, as in Chairman. Another painting of Kinsale up here, Kipper House. But, I don't really consider these realistic paintings to be my style. To me, they're just exercises in learning how to paint. And I think I did that for many years, Alan. I kind of, I haven't really applied to a lot of established art galleries because I think probably for 20 years, I felt like I was just learning how to paint.
Yes.
I never really felt ready to apply to any gallery because, as you can see, I haven't really stuck to one style of painting, which a lot of the galleries want their artists to do. They want their paintings to be immediately recognizable. You come here, here's an example of completely different style over here. It's totally abstract. This one was done probably in 2017, 2016.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's called Our Life Begins. And I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's a penis there ejaculating, and it's basically, it's an abstract painting, but some people see it, some people don't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And just above it, you have the Crawdaddies, the band I was in London for 6 years. It was one of the best bands I was ever in. We played heavy rock music when heavy rock wasn't popular in the 80s.
Yeah. What instrument did you play?
I was the drummer of the band and the manager. One of my paintings of the musician series. I did a whole series from the Cork School of Music of all the orchestra. So I did about 40 paintings of kids in the orchestra, including my nephew Cian, who played the viola in the orchestra.
Yes.
Yes. And, okay, just before we go, here's one of my paintings of the harbour that I was telling you about. This is Cork Harbour looking from Cove. Yeah. And it's before a lot of the industrial buildings were built. Like if you look up here now, there's windmills, and there's the Marine College, there's the crematorium. This building burnt down 2 months after I did the painting. I love Cork Harbour. It's an incredible place, the second most largest natural harbour in the world. And as I'm following in my father's footsteps, I have my own catamaran now. So go sailing in Cork Harbour. But on the way, I got to show you the bathroom.
Oh, we want to see every bit of your house.
So the bathroom, this was a window when I bought the house. And I built this room, and it's on stilts. It's on steel girders, so it's open underneath it.
Yeah.
But
yes.
You can see, I'd just like you to see the view, if you look up there, John, of the cathedral above us. That's how close I am to St. Coleman's Cathedral.
Fantastic. Yes.
Look, it's nearly falling down on top of us.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
Wonderful view. Yeah.
So come on down.
Okay.
Come on down. The price is right. Everything's for sale. Another abstract painting here. Colors. It's just an exercise in color, really, Alan. Now, this one here is an early one. I kind of perfected this technique. I learned it in Limerick School of Art by accident. I spilled some paint. I started playing with the paint. And then I realized when you paint with a very liquid paint, you can get incredible effects. So this is kind of an example of how I was able to control the paint, because it's easy enough to do all of this, the watery bits. It doesn't take a huge amount of skill, but to do the figure and all the muscles, it's actually done from a photograph of Brian O'Driscoll running with the rugby ball. But the painting is called Genesis. And do you see the next painting, which is a much more recent painting, is Paddy Casey, the famous Irish singer. And you can see it's done in a very similar kind of technique, with the paint is totally liquid. But in this case, I spin the canvas and then I splash more paint on and I spin the canvas again and then paint the portrait over afterwards.
Oh, afterwards? All right.
Yeah.
I would have thought you'd have done that the other way around.
Stand around of the gallery now, John. Be careful of the step. Now, this is my painting of the favourite area of Cork, which is Cork Docklands. And these buildings are all knocked down, which is why I did this series of paintings of Cork, because so much of Cork was being demolished. A lot of our heritage just gone altogether. Yeah. And I feel the authorities don't have much respect for the heritage buildings. I've had a huge campaign for the last 8 years to try and save the Port of Cork buildings, which are just opposite here. And they're beautiful old stone buildings that were built by the French prisoners on Spike Island way back 200 years ago during the Napoleonic Wars. Just below, while we're here, John, you could show a couple of Brexit paintings that I did. This one is Angela Merkel showing David Cameron the exit, which is down a cave. So I just, it's my kind of statement saying the English are going back to being cavemen, really, I suppose. And beside that, you have one of the most obnoxious politicians of all time, Michael Gove, and his head is exploding with the European flag and the Houses of Parliament behind him.
Yeah.
So that's just a bit of my political work. And then my most recent portrait is this one, Paul Brady.
It's wonderful, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a large one.
I love that one.
As you can see.
Yeah.
This painting drove me bonkers because it took so long, and I gave up on it.
Yeah.
For about a year, I just didn't touch it. Then I went back to it. But at the moment, my studio is this place, and I've cleaned it up for today, especially for you, Alan. So you can't see where I work.
Yeah.
But this room is where I've been working all during lockdown. But it's back to being my gallery again, and you can see out the window there.
Yes.
Front window.
Yeah.
I have a nice big shop front window. And then the next painting you're coming to is one of the Animals Matter series. And it's the Kimono Dragon. And basically it's beside a nuclear bomb, which is embedded in the ground. And the teepee behind him represents the few humans on Earth that animals can cohabit with, which is, you know, indigenous people who treat the Earth with respect and animals with respect.
Yes.
And below it, you have one of the recent ones done on the corrugated metal of the crow. Very fond of this one.
Yeah, I love those ones. I love the fact that they're so raw.
I love crows as well.
In terms of your base.
Intelligent creatures.
Mm-hmm.
Such intelligent creatures. This is St. Coleman's Cathedral here. That's quite a popular one. A lot of people like that. And then this one here is called Battle for Independence. And I wrote to Joe Biden after he won the election in America. And I offered to give him this as a present, as a thanks for saving democracy and for beating Donald Trump. So this painting is called Battle for Independence. It's American warship fighting an English warship. And like a lot of my paintings, they start off as abstract paintings and I put the realistic bit in afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting about this painting is I did another painting on the back, which is it's a personal message to Joe Biden. And it says, truth, trust, a nation 2021, an insurrection, love and hope, the people spoke. We thank the President, Joe Biden and Jill Biden, Kamala Harris, Doug Emhoff, Battle for a Nation. And then it's got the Senate buildings and a load of derelict, burnt out buildings, which kind of representing the state of American society at the moment. And there's a lot of messages for Joe Biden there, like BLM and real democracy is not owned by big business. And equality can save us, and do not criminalize the poor, and help to end poverty. So there's a lot of messages on the back of that. And actually, it's a kind of an abstract painting of the old senators in the Senate. You can see the figures there. I never got a response to this. I've emailed the White House a few times to ask if he got the letter. I never got a response. You see, most of my paintings have political connotations. This one as well. It's the City Hall, Cork City Hall, but the title of the painting is called Red Carpet to City Hall. And you can see along the footpath there, there is a red carpet going all the way down to the planning offices. So that the big property developers in Cork can go into the City Hall and meet the city manager. And, you know, in my mind, I think that's how the corruption happens in Ireland with the politicians and the property developers. Tonight, we were at a wonderful concert here in Cove by a friend of mine called Jimmy Crowley. And here you can see is a painting that I'm doing for Jimmy. And it's illustration for his book, which is called High Brazil. And it's about a society where the artists are in control and the capitalists are the bad people in society. They're frowned upon. They're the least popular.
Yes. Yeah.
It's also based on aliens and all sorts. Like this is an alien planet with a spaceship landing on it. And it even has plants called the Bega Bush, which apparently you can smoke and get high from.
Have you tried it?
Not yet.
No.
I've been on a few alien planets myself.
John, before you go on, the poster, your painting to the right of that. I've got the larger version of that, which I'm going to show.
Yes.
There, yeah.
This is
John. Can you show that? Point it down a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's called My Incredible Desire for Fatherhood, and
no, I'm sharing that now.
The baby's hand holding my hand, and you can see below it is my fiancée Claire on the left-hand side, and then there's a druid down there casting a spell, and if you look really closely on the right-hand top corner, you can see me suspended in midair. There's quite a lot going on there, even down below. There's a lot of detail. So it's another example of the very different styles that I have. But I'd like to take you outside here to show you more of the Animals Matter series.
Yep, sure.
Oh, and this one. Bertie Ahern and the Pope doing a deal so that the Irish taxpayers had to pay the 1.5 billion for all the sexual abuse cases from the Catholic Church. And you see Bin Laden is Jesus, and the Twin Towers and Calvary. It's quite a lot going on. And the dollar sign, the Pope was wearing the dollar sign instead of the cross.
Yeah.
Very political. You can see the cathedral up here. This is my backyard, and
is that just a cliff edge?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So if you look here to the left, John, you can show the paintings of the animals on the corrugated metal.
They are wonderful.
This is what I've been doing during the lockdown, Alan.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And are you serious? Is that much corrugated metal around the beaches?
Oh my God, that was only a small amount that I picked off the beach in Cove.
My God, yeah.
So the rhinos, they're definitely facing serious problems, extinction. It's so outrageous that humans would kill such a majestic animal for their horn. But what's even more horrific is what they do with sharks. They cut off their fins and leave them alive in the water. You know, it's just horrific. Terrible. What humans do.
Horrific, yeah.
Down here is the chicken. I mean, how do we treat chickens, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Chicken. What a chicken's life must be the most worthless life on the planet. And then just before we leave the back garden, you can see my old election campaign poster. I thought I'd show you that because I actually ran in the 2011 national elections.
Did you? How'd you get on?
Oh, yeah, I got into the second count anyway.
Very good.
So we go back inside?
Yep.
Come on back in.
So show us
my house this morning.
Pardon?
I said it's so good to have you all in my house this morning. Yeah. I'm going to take you out the front.
Do let's have a look at what it's like from the outside.
Yes,
well, that's a wonderful gallery space, and I believe you also use it for performances and entertainment.
Yes, we're on the stage now, Alan. My drum kit's on the stage. Mm-hmm. Tomorrow we're going to have a jam session here.
Are you?
Yeah, we've got some musicians coming. So if you stand over by the front door, John, you get a feeling, show them where the audience sits. This is the stage. We've had the wonderful Bill Griffin on this stage doing his play about Picasso or Francis Bacon. I can't remember which one he did.
Yeah.
But he's written some great plays.
That's right.
This is the stage, and it can have 40 people sitting here as an audience.
Wow. Yeah, I've seen a photograph of that. Unfortunately, I couldn't find it to show everyone.
Bring you outside now to show you the front of the house.
Yeah.
The traffic.
Yeah, dodgy. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read out a couple of comments, John. I don't know if you can hear me yet.
I can hear you now, yes.
Yeah, good. Okay. John, we're just coming up to 11. So I'm going to read a couple of comments and then ask people if they'd like to ask you a question in person. And as I would have mentioned to you, if you are going to ask a question or make a comment, please turn on your camera so we can see you. Otherwise, I won't be able to get to you. So I'm going to run through a couple of the comments, John, if you just relax there for a minute. Pamela says, I love this man. He says it as it is. I totally agree with what he's saying. Tim Goulding says, curators have become more important than painters. Martin Lynch was the man who said Gilbert and George. Yvonne, finally, we hear somebody who is championing Irish artists. Yvonne. Marianne, yes, we've just had the Mayo Artist Exhibition chosen by a curator, and the whole exhibition doesn't seem to make sense. There you are. Liam Lavery, our sound is gone, so we're going to leave and reconnect. I hope you were able to. Liam, sorry about that. Yvonne, love that you have different styles and genre. Love that you've, shows the courage to keep experimenting and not be predictable. That's good. Tim Goulding says, love this house of treasures. And it really is a treasure trove, isn't it?
Wow.
Marianne, love the skies in the painting, as I do. Yeah. Tim, great Green Chair concert in John's house a few years ago. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, Green Shine, fantastic band. And
Green Shine, sorry, yes.
They played here a few times, and they've been like #2 in the charts in Ireland at least. I don't know if they finally beat #1, but check out Green Shine, they're amazing.
Okay.
And we had John Spillane on this stage. He was the last person to play here.
Was he?
Jimmy Crowley with his brother Darby played here, and Linda Cullen and Billy Kennedy. These are all different acts that I've had. Amanda Wynne came all the way from France, actually, and I had a band come all the way from France.
Wonderful. You've got a cousin here. Hi, cousin. John, we are tuning in from Sydney.
Hi, Natalie and Ian and Jane.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good to hear that you're listening.
You might see them in person in a minute. I'm so moved to see that fabulous painting of Dear Des. You captured him exactly as how I remember him. May he rest in peace.
Wow.
Derek Cully says, great interview and true artist. Tim Goulding should be a maximum wage as well as a minimum wage. There you are. And Gilise says, Alan, what is that walkway called to take passengers onto Dryland Kinsale? Yeah, as Trina says, it's Chairman's Lane, and hence the origin. Tim Goulding, love the blue abstract. Your friends in Sydney say, cousins, wow, John, that's brilliant. Marianne, love the corrugated painting with the crow, beautiful. Carmen Havens, thank you, John. That's obviously from the States, I think. Seamus says, irrelevant ephemera, but St. Coleman's Cathedral, designed by George Coppinger Ashlyn Pugin's son-in-law, who died 100 years ago yesterday, 10th of December. Katie, wow, your garden. She loves your garden.
Oh, yeah. I love the garden. There's a lot of work to do out there to make it a good garden. Yeah.
You need to plant a bit of grass there, not that kind of grass. Marianne says, love the animals on the corrugated. I have to go now. Enjoy the program. Thank you for that. Rhinos are unicorns that let themselves go. Yes. Rhinos are unicorns that let themselves go. I like that. Thanks, Tim. Haha, Tim, says Katie. I love that, Tim. Millie, thanks for an entertaining visit to John's studio. Great work. Margie says, many thanks for the amazing session. Amazing work. Carmen Haven says, visited John a few months ago. One of the most welcoming artists I've ever met. I'm an artist new to Ireland and he and I had great chats about politics and art. He's a kindred spirit and so glad to have connected with him. That's very nice. Eilish says, another fantastic interview. Thanks, John and Alan. And finally, Kieran Donovan says, John is also a great art teacher. I asked him to teach me and my friend a few years ago and enjoyed every minute learning artistic skills from him. Love the art house too. Sheila Kingston was from Sheila. So that's it. Some lovely accolades there and comments and compliments to you, John. I'm going to let everybody unmute themselves.
Natalie and Ian.
Hi, John. It's fantastic to see you.
Oh,
thanks for the tour.
Awesome tour. Love seeing all your paintings. They're great.
And thank you, Alan,
Great
as well.
to see you guys.
Thanks for tuning in from all the way down there.
Yeah,
It's wonderful. We're so excited to see all your paintings and everything that you've done at the studio. It looks amazing.
Looks beautiful.
Yeah, it took a while to tidy it up.
It's,
so
the house looks fantastic.
My gosh, look at the size of him. He's an adult.
Yep.
We had a jam in that downstairs room 6 years ago, didn't we, John?
Absolutely, yeah. Oh, it was wonderful. Is it, how long ago?
6 years.
Oh, wow. It's not that long, is it? Surely.
Since we were there.
Yeah.
You won't
Beautiful.
get into that Liverpool shirt anymore, Jane.
Yeah, we still like Leilani, yeah.
Leilani, yeah, he's still playing, isn't he? Who's he playing for now?
I don't know.
Brighton.
Brighton, that's it. Yeah, they're a good team too.
Yeah.
That's something I like all the listeners to know. I love
whoever's speaking.
Yeah. We'll
This way, or do you want it?
We need to share you with others, John. We'll mute and you talk to others now.
Thank you for tuning in. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
Love you, John.
Thanks for tuning in. Thank you. Sorry, we interrupted. Derek. Sorry about that, Derek.
Oh yeah, sure, John. How are you doing? I suppose every question I want to ask, I've already asked you before at one point in our careers. But I'm impressed with the new work on the corrugated iron. It's kind of interesting. I just wonder though if it's already rusted. Did you put a coat of varnish or something to inhibit the rust in the future?
Well, that could be a problem, Bill. But I did coat it in PVA. I gave it two coats of PVA first, and then after I did the painting, I covered it in lacquer to try and stop any oxygen getting to it. But I will have to say I can't guarantee those paintings like I would on a canvas. I'm not sure how stable they'll be. Most of them are still in good nick. Nearly 2 years after I painted them, I suppose. Well, probably a year after I painted them. So I'm not sure. They're certainly not suitable for outside anyway.
It's an interesting direction you've taken with them, because it kind of put you in mind slightly of Bridget Riley with the curvations. Well done, as always. Thank you.
And thank you very much for your support, and for Deirdre's as well. You know, it's great to have friends like you.
That's right. No problem.
Okay. Anybody else?
I'm a lucky man.
John, Liam here.
Hi, Liam.
Hello. What's the best bit of advice you have got as an artist? Well, that might take too long to answer.
Yes, well, I can say one of the people who helped me most was Maurice Desmond in my early years in Cork. When I moved back to Cork in 1996, I met Maurice Desmond, and he became like a mentor to me, and he introduced me to a lot of people in the art world in Cork, including, gallery owners and collectors, but also other artists that were well established already, such as Tim Goulding and Bill Griffin and John Shinners and people like that. And just meeting these people and hanging out with them was an incredible inspiration to me. And I think it's such a travesty that the galleries especially the Crawford Gallery, and the government-funded galleries are not celebrating these artists. Like, you know, these artists, like, they're getting old now, and they need to be celebrated. They need to be shown in the top galleries, not bringing in all these international artists all the time. And I think this is one of the biggest problems in the arts in Ireland, is the fact that the curators and the arts administrators at the very top, in the powerful, like the Arts Council and that, they're not doing anywhere near enough to promote Irish artists. And I think that's, you know, so I'm not really answering your question, but I'm just kind of saying, like, Morris gave me the best advice, and he was a wonderful mentor to me. And I was telling Alan that maybe you should get Morris on the show, because he's such an interesting guy as well. But also you two, I mean, you do amazing sculptures, and I want to see more of your work as well, because you're an incredible artist to do you.
Thank you.
That's great.
Thanks, John.
Okay, thanks Liam for that. Anybody else before we wrap up? Yep.
Hi Sheila.
How are you, John?
How are you, darling?
Good. And great. The outside mural on the art shop Cove is fantastic. It's very easy work for John's. Just wondering if you come to do any more outdoor buildings or artworks. Also, I'd like to thank him for all the art lessons over the years. Really enjoyed every minute of them. Learned so much from John. Excellent teacher, which we would like to in his interview. I'd like to say that he's an excellent teacher, and I really enjoyed spending time in the Cove in the studio with myself and my other students, and I'd like to thank him for that.
Thank you so much, Sheila. You know, it's been a great pleasure, and we've become great friends. I enjoy every minute I spend with you painting together. I look forward to you coming back next week.
Very good. Okay, anybody else?
Hi, Alan. It's Eamon.
Eamon, hi.
How are you?
You can't turn on your camera, can you?
Have I not got my camera on? Sorry.
Nope.
Where is my camera? Oh, yeah. There. Can you see me now?
Yes, we can. Yeah,
yes.
Thank you.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
Congratulations on the work. I think it's wonderful. The corrugated iron pieces are amazing, actually. One piece of advice, just in working in corrugated iron, is to, if you mixed in rust paint with the PVA and then paint.
Oh, really?
On that, it helps stop the oxidization. It also stabilizes the rust that is underneath it.
Okay.
Kiefer uses, that's how Kiefer treats his steel pieces.
Okay. Would you have
it becomes like an eggshell, you know, when you mix it together.
Would you have a name of the product that you could maybe
just ordinary rust, you know the ordinary rust inhibitors that you buy. It's usually a red oxide.
Okay.
Paint. If you mix that in with PVA.
Yeah.
And you make an eggshell out of it. So you have to beat the bejesus out of it to get it to work, you know.
It's lovely to meet you. What's your name?
Sorry?
Eamon Coleman.
Eamon, it's lovely to meet you. Can I see your paintings? Are you an artist?
Well, he was interviewed on the art as well. So you'll see loads of his work if you go back into the archive.
I will look him up. Thank you for contributing, Eamon.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
You know, it's gas. Thanks for that, Eamon. I got a card from somebody, which I may post, and it's got all sorts of truisms about art and artists. And it talks about, curators, that they talk about form and composition and this, that, and the other. And when artists get together, they talk about the price of turpentine. And isn't it funny that all the artists here say, have you tried this? Have you tried that? Which is wonderful. And this is what it's all about.
You haven't seen John. Look, you have to thank John as well.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Thank you, John. You did a sterling job. Well done.
If anybody's looking to record their music, John has a lovely recording studio here in Cove.
Excellent. Listen, well done, both of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Alan.
John, you did a great job there showing us around. I really appreciate it. It was lovely to get that sort of in-depth look into your not only your studio, but your house and your gallery. It's quite a unique setup you have there, as well as the Airbnb in the top floor, which is wonderful if anyone's down your part of the world.
There's a couple of things I'd just like to wrap up with. One is I'd like to dedicate this whole interview to my Auntie Frances and my parents and my sister and my nephew Keane, because without them, I wouldn't have this house at all. In particular, my Auntie Frances, who died about 7 or 8 years ago, and she left me enough money to buy this house. And without that, I'd be still living in rental accommodation in Cork City. So
yes,
I think of my Auntie Frances every day and thank her for helping me to get this house.
That's a lovely sentiment, yeah.
And also, you know, everything in this house is for sale, by the way. And if anybody wants to see my work, they could go on the website, www.johnadamsartist.ie. And I'm on Instagram and I'm on Facebook. So
yeah,
please connect. And,
yeah, don't worry, John. We'll put that on the video as well. We'll show that. Just to wind up, thank you very much, John, for everything you've done. You put a huge amount of effort into it, and I really appreciate it. So next week is our last episode before Christmas. And I'm delighted to say we have none other than Gary Robinson as our guest artist. And as Eamon Coleman was there, I heard him doing a speech at an opening of an exhibition during the week. And he referred to Gary as one of Ireland's finest artists. And so I'm really looking forward to that. So join me next week, same time, 10 o'clock Saturday, and that'll be the last one for this year. We have a number of people lined up already for next year, but you know this will be the last for this particular season. So thank you all for watching. I know people have been watching from the States, from Australia, from all over Europe. So it's been a wonderful morning. And thank you and well done, John, again. And the cameraman, John.
Stay safe, everybody.
Good man. Excellent. Okay, cheerio, everyone.
Thank you very much, Alan.
Well done, John.
Not at all. Bye.